Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. And today I am building this British new build site / neighborhood. And if you're thinking, oh, I've got a bit of deja vu, it's because I have made this before. And I was always feeling a little bit dissatisfied with it. So now that we have had different types of packs, specifically Love Struck, which I use quite a bit in this, I was like, let me just have another go at it. And let me instead of trying to do it from memory, let me really do as much research as I can and really try and create what is available. Because I feel like the problem with my previous new build video was that I was trying so hard to imitate. Also, before I continue, this G shade that I'm using, because I've been tweaking it lately, this one is going to change to one that I've actually become really satisfied with. So yeah, ignore this G shade. It's not going to be as this exposed as I goes on. But yeah, anyway, instead of trying to make a British speed build, instead of trying to make a new build side in what I remember new builds to look like, or what I fantasize them to look like, I was like, no, let me really look at what's going on in the market and what's really popular right now and try and create that. So that's basically what I was doing here. I was just trying to see what I could create that's really reminiscent of something in the market. And I realized that one of the biggest reasons why I really just didn't like my previous ones was because I didn't add these little details. As you can see right now, I'm adding these shelves and everything to add that extra piece of texture that we get with the windows. And the brick was just far too dark and it was just very clunky. And the funny thing about, this is the G shade I ended up after tweaking, this is the one that I ended up using. So this is, I did use the base of Urban Something's G shade just because I cannot go through hundreds and hundreds of G shade, and I liked Urban's one, but it was too many presets or G shade things. There's too many things in the G shade that would have ended up causing my game to lag. It was lagging, so I had to remove what I didn't feel like it was particularly necessary and keep what I wanted. And I ended up just having this particular G shade, and I'm really, really happy with it. I feel like this is the perfect system now. So when I'm building, you can really see what I'm doing, as well as keep my aesthetic of the whole sepia, dark brown kind of thing that I have going on. So yeah, I feel like I really am comfortable with this G shade now. I would love to know what you guys think as well, just because it is really difficult to understand how I see it and then how you guys as a viewer would see it. But I feel like this just also has just made my content to look a little bit more crisper, less jagged on the edges and stuff like that. So I really like what I've done. I added a lot of the stuff from my personal G shade and I mixed it up with the Urban, I think by Aries G shade, so it can just end up coming up with this very, very nice and cozy kind of color looking thing, and I really love it. And what happened is that I was supposed to be, well, I've been studying for something, but I was supposed to be doing my application for my jobs, but then I completely got just distracted by the idea of building British new builds. I don't know what possessed me, but I was just I really have to do this. I cannot explain to you nor anyone else why I feel this really intense need to just suddenly build these types of builds. But I was like, yeah, I have to do it because it's inside of me. I just have to do it. And I'm really happy with how this came out. And I generally think this is far better than the previous one I had. I don't know how, I don't even know if it's because of the G shade or the lot placement, because the other one was a little crowded. The other one, it's in the same world, because this is my British save world. If you guys do not know, I have different types of save worlds. I do not know if I'll ever publish them, but when I was building this, in the background you might see the British flat I made. I'm going to remake that. But when I was building this, I was like, you know what? Let me just, actually really think about how it's gonna look and how it would be to actually, have a proper British save file. So maybe if I'm feeling pretty funky fresh, I might just redo the entirety of Newcrest. And I know Newcrest is the least British looking town, but I feel like it's really good to give that kind of modern British aesthetic rather than the like conventional, traditional, slightly gothic one that a lot of people might perceive. Because I promise you, if you come to the UK, it's a lot more modernity. Like, I feel like you have a mix of Tudor, God, I can't speak. You have a mixture of Tudor aesthetics, so obviously castles and things like that, and then you have a mixture of the grandiose of Georgian and Victorian aesthetics, and then you have a lot of 60s aesthetics. I feel like those, though, and then currently, like, I would say 2010 aesthetics, like those are the kind of aesthetics that you have. Like, it's just or mid-century, or it's Victorian, or it's Georgian, Tudor, or it's the mid-century. Yeah, like the 60s. So I was really just trying to incorporate all of that into this British default, but specifically Newcrest is the more like 60s to modern style. So as you are like going to school, going to work, doing anything like that, these are the type of houses most likely you will come across when doing stuff like this. So like, I was just like, I really like how it's come out. Like, I feel like I can just be on the bus or in an Uber and I'll just drive past this area. It feels really nice because there's a lot of different types of like new build aesthetics. There is the new build aesthetic that allows you to have, what does it allow you to have? It allows you to have something a bit more like, I wouldn't say modern, but like something a little bit more adventurous. So it might have a really like crazy modern style. Or you could have I'm so sorry that I've yawned. I'm not entirely too well at the moment. So I might seem a little bit slightly sleep deprived. But again, like I said, I had this intense need to build this. So even sleep could not stop me from creating this thing. But yeah, I feel like this is like, I feel like if any of you ever come to the UK and maybe you like step outside of central London, like outside of Piccadilly, outside of those areas, and I'm not talking about Oxford, but like you just generally go to like a lot of the like just like normal settings, you would just see like these mid-century flats and then these like maybe like 2008 era kind of new builds, which is what I feel like these new builds kind of look like. Because my friend used to live in a new build. I didn't know back then it was a new build, but now I reminisce. I do realize it was a new build. My friend used to live in one and it looked like this, because these new builds are all just brick compared to a lot of new builds at the moment that might mix a lot of different type of wallpapers and meshes in order to create the aesthetic. But this one is just purely brick, and I feel like the purely brick really did like pull it off. I can't lie. When it came to making this, when I was deciding my G shade, I did like the original one, and I think I would have ended up using the original one for the entire video. But I'm so lucky I ended up seeing a particular issue that I could have with the original one, that I ended up like toning it down and making it a little bit flatter for building, was that when I took it off, because sometimes I don't remember, sometimes I do, I remember I need to take the G shade off just so I can see what it looks like without it, just in case I have like any console players or anything like that that don't have G shades, or the computers just can't handle G shades and they would like to download this and it's not completely ugly without it. So when I was doing the interior of the first house, the detached house, I was, no, before I continue, look at me like trying to properly represent British driving, what's it called? Science, procedures, not procedures. It's like basically like all these lines mean a thing. So I've been trying to like really like showcase how British roads really look like when I do British builds now. So obviously we drive on the left side of the road. Yeah, so I don't know why I completely left in my head for a second. That's worrying. But yeah, we drive on the left side of the road. So when you're going through like crossroads or you're turning or anything like that, you will normally see on the actual part like on a T-junction or something, which is basically a junction where you can't go straight ahead, so you can only go right or left, or if you're going through a crossroad, not a crossroad, but if you're going through maybe just like a turn, you will see double dotted lines and a single dotted line. The single dotted line is on the left side to show that this is the side you can enter, this is the side you can go through. And the double dotted lines is to show this is where oncoming is coming from, because that is their left side. So I was really trying to make sure that I incorporated all those good aspects, as well as what we would have on a zebra crossing and stuff. Like, I imagine this particular area would have this zebra crossing here, because I really did make this new build area in the eyes of a family game player, like someone who wants to play with family gameplay. But anyway, before I continue too much on this rant of itchy shades and British parking and driving laws and aesthetics, I just want to say what I was saying regarding the G-shade. When I took it off and I looked on the detached house, I was completely shocked with how disgustingly ugly the interior looked, because that G-shade I was using was very flattering towards how it looked. It made it look very cinematic and very sharp and contrasted. But when I took it off, the wallpaper, because I've been trying to be a bit more adventurous, trying to stray away from the beiges and everything like that, specifically with how a lot of people nowadays are trying to stray away from the beige, especially when they have kids. I was like, okay, let me try and add a bit more color. And I think it's also at this point in my mind kind of cemented that these houses are probably from like 2008. In 2008, we had quite colorful interiors. So I was like, okay, let me add like a dark blue into the semi-detached, because I've seen some really good interior design with like semi-detached, with new build houses and like dark blue colors. And I was like, this is just such a vibe. I love this. So I tried it out, and when I took off the G-shade, I was like, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how this is going to look nice on anyone's computer or anyone's console. I have to get rid of this. So I had to change the G-shade so that when I do apply a wallpaper on the interior or exterior, it can look pretty in my eyes, but then if you don't have a G-shade, it'll still be pretty in your eyes. So yeah, because I've spoken before, I like G-shades not only for the aesthetics, but it just motivates me to want to build, because the reason why I changed my other one is not only so you can see the build better, but my other one still did encourage me the way that sometimes I go onto social media and I see other players utilizing G-shades, and their G-shades are always just so much better when it comes to building, in my opinion. They just always look so, I don't know, like it's soft, but it's crisp, but like it always has a very different vibe to my game, which always feels like a little bit, just the slightest bit sharp. And I feel like I might interchange between G-shades. So I might have one that is, I'm trying to think here. I might have one that is, oh God, I'm struggling. I might have one that is a bit more cinematic when I'm making more cinematic like content. Like if I ever make, I would never make another Gotham, because the one I have right now is very like interesting. I feel like if you wanted to do an EmeraldStories bingo card, just be like, every EmeraldStories video, how many times can she mention her Gotham builds without, how long can she go without mentioning her Gotham build? And here I am having mentioned it again. But what I meant to continue saying is that when I make very like cinematic and like kind of like aesthetically stuff like that, I might switch over to my old G-shade just because that can represent it a little bit better. But what I'm basically making every other build, so maybe restaurants, family neighborhoods like this and stuff like, oh my God, it just looks so pretty. Just looking at it like this little section as I'm trying to find stuff, it just looks so pretty. Just these kind of builds, I think I'll stick to this one just because it allows more light and you can see better, and it really fits into the aesthetic that I'm just trying to represent in these types of videos. So yeah. Also, these fences that I'm using right now, there are another pair of fences that I feel like we either got from Lovestruck or Life and Death that I couldn't find. They're darker because I didn't want the fences this light. I didn't want them completely dark, but definitely not this light. And then But it's fine. But then another issue that I noticed with this fences is that since it's only recognized and registered in the game as one tile, your sim can quite literally walk through the different types of fences. So what I did try and do off camera, because I noticed this as I was playing the game, because even though the front door is set as the front door, my sims will go into the back door through kind of like meshing through the fences. And I was like, I don't want that. But when I tried to put a fence, it was just like missing ops or cannot place ops or something like that. And I was just like, okay, because at the end I was like, okay, so maybe I could just paint the floor, or like use a tile to make the floor look like grass. And even still, that wasn't allowing me to do it. And I was like, you know what? I'll put my hands up in defeat. Sometimes Sims will just go through the fence. If you've somehow figured it out, tell me, and I might upload a new version. But right now, I have not been able to figure out how to do that. So the version that you will see in the gallery, your Sims may just go through the fences. Now, when I was making these new builds, in my head, I was also like, I feel like I have to put a flat. Like, it's just natural for me to make apartment like buildings. So I had to put a flat in just because I feel like these type of flats with those flat gates next to the window/doors is just such a thing you'll also see in a new build area, because a new build area does also have a variety of houses. Like I showed you, there's a semi-detached, and then there's a detached, and then there's flats, because they just utilize the same aesthetic and they will just try and utilize them in order to create like a similar vibe, but also having different types of residences. So there are 6 overall units in this build. Obviously, you've got the detached, which has, I believe, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen, dining, living area all combined into one. And storage space, because I don't know why when creating this build this time around, I was just very like conscious of the fact that we need things that, even though you can't actually store things in it, they represent storage spaces, just because it makes the room look a bit more lived in and alive. And you cannot deny that this build looks quite lived in and alive, because I remember when I built my British new build site, one of my favorite comments was someone said that I really love your builds just because they make everything look so lived in. And I was like, okay, I need to achieve the same thing. And you know what? I won't say I achieved it in particularly in this house, just because I feel like there could be a lot more clutter. But I don't know why. I just thought maybe this is just a new couple that have just moved in, and I've got a few stuff that they kept from the previous apartments when they used to have roommates and stuff like that. But this is just like the house that they're really ready to start up a family and a life in, I say, as there is a second bedroom that looks like it's built for a teenager, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to make a powerful bedroom, so I did. But yeah, but beyond that, I ended up creating you know what, this door that's like glass, I don't know if I am gonna upload it with this glass door that separates the kitchen and the living room, or if I'm just gonna change it to the Dream Home Decorator pale doors that I use in every other room, just because it feels slightly out of place. Or it just could be my mind making that up, because at the moment I am currently both units of the semi-detached have burgundy walls, because I don't know, in my head I started thinking of 2008, and when I think of 2008 I think of burgundy walls. Do you know what I could have used and I completely forgot about? We have this floral wallpaper from Lovestruck that I feel like would be absolutely perfect in a British build, because it just reminds me of those very like 3D centric looking floor art pieces that we used to get in 2008, where everyone was just loving different kinds of shapes and colors, but not to the extent that people in the late 2000s, early 10s liked them, where it was very geometric. Oh God, I can't do speak. Very like sharp shapes. No, like I'll say the 2000s really like the rounded off shapes, like the flowers and the circles and the stuff like that, and it's very soft but very bold at the same time, compared to the sharp and almost like officey kind of feelings that come in the early 2010s to mid 2010s. If I was to say colors, in terms of colors, in 2008, I imagine 2008 to have, how have I already been talking to 19 minutes? The last time I looked at my iPad, as I've been doing my voiceover, it was 6 minutes. So I've been yapping a lot. But anyway, no, what I was saying is that if I was to say a color for the 2000s period between like 2001 to 2010, I'll say I think of burgundy a lot. I think of dark blues. I feel like very dark colors like burnt oranges and stuff like that, which is funnily enough all my favorite colors, like even dark grays, like all of those very dark, almost like gem tone colors. That's what I think of the 2000s era to be like, just because I think of a lot of shows in that era to be like that. Like you think of Vampire Diaries, you think of Supernatural, you think of CW quite a bit, you think of all these shows that had kind of very moody lighting, so any kind of sharp colors you had was very moody. And then if I think of like the different types of reality shows we had in the UK, like Snug, Marry, Avoid, and well, these kind of shows, or Come Dine With Me, which I've been watching repeatedly every single day, they do have like a moody aesthetic. But then as you shift from the 2000s and you get to 2015, 16, 17 latest, you start getting more like neon aspects of it. So you get like a very neon yellow and very neon pink. And I feel like this kind of correlates with the whole back to school trend that used to occur. This is my own perspective, by the way. But I feel like this corresponds with a lot of back to school aspects we used to have in this time. This is when YouTube was rising, so we used to see very bright colors when it came to even houses, because British YouTubers was such a big thing, and they all lived in Brighton, and Brighton has those very bright coastal houses. So we used to think of them. We used to think of all of those. I forgot what those lip glosses were called, the round ones in America. My friend went to America and she came back and gave me one, and I loved her forever for that, because I was just like, we were going through a lot of research in the UK, went through an American phase during that point, because even though the YouTubers were British, we still were very Disney-esque, and this is when like Shake It Up was getting big, and this is when Jessie was getting big, and these were all shows that were far more brightly colored than the moodier shows of like Wizards and Waverly Place or That's So Raven, or my favorite Halloween movie ever that I've just now realized I haven't watched this Halloween was Twitches. Like these kinds of aesthetics, even Bratz though. Bratz shows and movies, which is what I was thinking of when I made this room, were very deep tone moody like colors compared to the lighter colors that we get with like Barbie Dreamhouse, which I also absolutely love in the 2000s era and stuff like that. So I feel like I really do love the 2000 era of colors, but I feel like there is also so much nostalgia post 2010, and I feel like if you want to really like create a community in these in this British new build, you could kind of like sell each of the different British builds for whenever the families moved in. So this could be the earliest family, that's why the house is colored this way, but then you can make like one of the apartments, one of the flats to be quite brightly colored and have like a lot of bright pinks and neon yellows and a lot of geometric shapes like squares, triangles and everything. A lot of things to do with Horcrux signs, because that was a big thing as well. Maybe some galaxy tights here and there, galaxy-like aesthetic stuff, and mustache geek glasses, that entire kind of thing that we really had going on in the 2000s. But yeah, I really love how this came out, and funnily enough, this entire thing is very functional. So yeah, I really love it, and I hope you guys love it as well. Please comment down and tell me all about what you think about it and how you get on with it. I really would love to know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but if you don't want to, that's also okay. I appreciate you staying this long and listening to all of my rambles. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below or read all of your comments, the more the merrier, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.